Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of the Goblin 6 podcast. My name is Hobbs182, and I am the founder of Goblin6.com. Goblin 6, what is Goblin 6? Goblin 6 is a Resident Evil fan site founded October 1st, 2017. So that would be Halloween season, very appropriate. Welcome everybody to the show. If you stumbled on to this episode either on YouTube or if you have been following the site, welcome everyone. So the first thing I want to do is I don't want to call this show the Goblin 6 podcast because I think the name is too long and I hate saying the word podcast over and over and over. So what I want to do is I want to pick a name for it. So following website tradition, for anyone who has been on the site, you may have noticed that, for example, my avatar is the character Agent from Resident Evil 6. And anytime we use any branding for the site, we usually choose, well, for example, like on the streams as well, we use characters from, for example, Agent, that's my avatar. An edited version of Agent is Goblin, who quote unquote is the administrator of the forum, but it's actually me. Yeah, the website is a one-man operation. So as well as on our streams, we use characters from Umbrella Corps, and basically any branding for the site features throwaway characters from Resident Evil that either people don't like or hate or both. So following that tradition, the name I'm going to give this show is Spectre. So Spectre is a character from Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City, which I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with. So yes, so rebranding right away in the first episode. Welcome to the very first episode of Spectre. Okay, so yes, the show will be called Spectre. All right, so again, so what is Goblin 6? So a Resident Evil fan site created by me. So why did I decide to make a Resident Evil fan site 20 plus years into the series? So I first played Resident Evil in the early 2000s. It was Resident Evil 2. And ever since then, I had the idea of creating a website. And I actually started back in the day, gathering everything I could, files, character images, enemy images, maps, inventory, items, weapons, etc. But of course, me being young and naive, I did not know anything about backups or storage, etc. So I was working on gathering all this info on a laptop back in the day, but of course the laptop went to shit and I lost all the info, so then I dropped it. And I slowly got back into it. So let's see, we're in 2018 now. I slowly got back into it around 2015 when the idea resurfaced about, finally creating a Resident Evil fan site. So yes, I finally in, 2017, you know what, I'll just, we do have one rule here at Goblin 6. It's funny I say we, but it's a one-man operation, but I feel kind of a jerk referring to myself as me, or I. So I'll say we when I refer to whatever's going on the site. So we do have one rule here, we keep it real, so there will be a lot of swearing. It's not for shock value, it's just that's the way I speak. Of course, if the situation calls for it, I will, at a job interview or something, of course I won't be stirring up a storm, right? But, anybody listening to the show, I consider them friends and family, regardless if we have met in person or not. But yeah, there will be a lot of swearing. So the reason I decided to make the website finally in 2017 was basically I decided to get my thumb out of my ass and finally do it. Fuck it. I had no idea how I was going to make it. I had no idea what the site was going to look like. I had no idea how I was going to put it together. All I knew was I had a bunch of folders with the reference, either, again, game files, character images, enemy images, all that stuff. So yeah, I finally decided, and we finally went live again October 1st. So Halloween season. That way I won't forget the anniversary of the site. So what do we do at Goblin 6? So it's when the site launched, it was pretty bare bones. We had descriptions of games and a few thumbnails, trailers if they were available. High-res trailers, preferably from Capcom or one of their channels. Capcom UK, Cat Community, whatever. So on the site, we do have news, Resident Evil news. But since games are few and far between, besides Resident Evil news, we will have also news on creators, like key creators in series, like Shinji Mikami, Hideki Kamiya, and Platinum Games and Tango Gameworks, whatever they're doing outside of the Resident Evil universe. And we also have a forum set up, but as of this recording, nobody has signed up. So please, anybody interested in Resident Evil, well, I mean everybody interested in Resident Evil horror, comics, games, TV, movies, whatever, music, please come and sign up for the website. If you're new to Resident Evil and barely getting into it, there is a security question on the forum. This is to prevent spam posters, because I have been involved in setting up other forums, and the second you leave it open, there will be so much porn posted on it that it's not even funny. Like, I mean, like everybody I like, some porn myself. I consider myself a connoisseur of erotica, but god damn it, you will not see so much porn in your life until you find a forum that has no security questions. And it's funny because it's mostly Eastern European stuff, but I appreciate that they like porn, but please keep that at home. This is not a porn forum. So so we do Resident Evil news, forum, and we do stream as well. We stream on Twitch, so you'll be able to find all these links in the description of the episode as well. So I'll be posting that. So on the streams, again, it's mostly it is myself, and I slowly started bringing friends on, either people in person here into the studio, or either buddies of mine online. So what we will be playing there are, of course, Resident Evil games, but again, there are only so many games we could go through, and I don't want to be playing the same game over and over and over. So for example, if we were to play the Resident Evil remake, you either play as Chris or as Jill, so that's twice. Maybe you could do it per difficulty, so that's 3 difficulties, so that could add up, but eventually we will run out. So we will be playing other Capcom games, other Capcom horror games, other games created by ex-key figures in the Resident Evil universe. So again, something like, The Evil Within 1 and 2, something like Bayonetta, Devil May Cry, God Hand, stuff like that. And of course, a lot of retro stuff, because we really, really like retro here at Goblin 6. So what will the podcast focus on? So we're going to try and do a weekly show, preferably every Friday. And of course, we will be discussing Resident Evil. But just like the website, we won't be focusing specifically on scoops. We will be focusing, so for example, this first episode, which I'm actually going to label episode 0, since it's basically an intro of the site and what we're doing. And then after that, we could have an episode dedicated to, for example, Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 6, whatever. And then again, as well, we will reach a point where we will run out of Resident Evil specific discussions. So since the game is, a survival horror, we'll start it as survival horror. It could be, anything horror related, movies, games as well. So we will keep it fresh. And just like the streams, I will try to bring people on. Hopefully, I have a few people in mind. But also, if we were to interview someone, which is something I do want to do, it will not be, for example, there are people who have interviewed DC Douglas, who's the voice actor for Wesker, or other voice actors that have participated in the series, which is awesome. That's great. But us, we're going to do something different. I am more interested in speaking to people within the community. So for example, right now we do have an interview It's not a an audio interview. It's we're keeping it classic in the beginning, so it will be basically a typed interview, so something that people could come to the site and read. And we have reached out to a couple of Resident Evil fan sites. So far, I've only gotten a response from one site. Questions have been sent out, so we should be getting those shortly and posting them on the site pretty well, as soon as we get them. So I'm really excited about that, because this is someone who I thought, wow, it would be awesome if this person was the first person that we could get a hold of an interview, and they have agreed to it. So that is very exciting. I won't say who yet until it's finally live, but yes, I'm very excited about that. So yes, remember, so the website goblin6.com. There are links to the forum, Twitch, and YouTube. But YouTube will be hosting the podcast, but they're mostly the streams that are recorded, so you can catch them there as well, just in case if Twitch takes them down or whatever. So this being the first episode, I wanted to give a little background of myself, of my taste and sort of what got me into Resident Evil and gaming and horror and all that. So I want to start with horror. So I love scary movies. I love scary movies, and the more I can get a hold of, the better. Preferably, anything outside of American horror. So, for example, I think I would say the two main movies that got me into horror were Halloween and the original Child's Play. Halloween, though it's funny, the first Halloween I saw was Halloween 4, and it freaked me the fuck out. That intro in Halloween 4, if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. But once I started watching the movies, the original Halloween, like John Carpenter, Halloween theme, Laurie Strode, Haddonfield, Illinois. Curiously, Goblin 6 is located in Illinois, so that kind of speaks to us. So that was awesome. And, now that I think about it, Child's Play as well, Chicago. So, fuck it, I'll just give it away. We're based in Chicago, Illinois, USA. So, you have Michael Myers, and you have Charles Lee Ray / Chucky. I mean, damn, it doesn't get better than that. And actually, a bonus a side note, in the original Child's Play, the street where Charles Lee Ray is murdered, it's actually Wabash, and my college is walking distance from that area, so that's awesome. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, within horror, a lot of slasher stuff, that's awesome. Some psychological stuff, / paranormal is really great as well. But I really like, for example, The Mist. I think that's probably the best modern horror movie, personally, for me. And along the vein of The Mist, The Void as well. For anyone who hasn't seen The Void, it's a little bit of imagine Assault on Precinct 13 original / The Thing. So I don't want to say give anything away for anybody who hasn't seen it. But yeah, of course, anything with zombies in it, I'll watch. I know the Resident Evil live action movies are not that welcomed in the Resident Evil community, but yes, I have seen them. I do have them. I did enjoy them to a point. Obviously, it doesn't. It's a adaptation of the series, but not a faithful adaptation, of course. But I had fun with it, and J horror, K horror, Train to Busan, stuff like that. That stuff's awesome. So a little bit of my gaming background. I grew up in the late 80s, early 90s, so I am kind of dating myself there. But for example, everybody I knew owned an NES, a Nintendo Entertainment System, and I saw it. It was okay. It didn't really catch. It was cool, but it wasn't great. Again, to me. So, I saw Sega Genesis, back in the day, and Sonic 1, and that just blew my, 8-9-year-old mind. It was different. It almost had a Rockstar quality to it, where like Nintendo, like Mario was fun and all, but it didn't feel special. Where Sega, it was more edgy. You had a clear contrast between Sonic and Mario. Mario ran, but to a point, but Sonic would just blaze across the screen. And it was just awesome. It was like seeing your favorite rock band for the first time, right? Or favorite band, period. So I'm a child of Sega. So I'll just sound off a few of my greatest hits. Sonic 2, Streets of Rage 2, Sonic Adventure, Altered Beast, Echo the Dolphin, The Amazing. No, it's not Cosmic Spider-Man. Spider-Man versus the Kingpin. Sega CD. So that that's definitely a big part of my background, and the arcade as well, because besides living the majority of my life in the U.S., I have been lucky to live in other countries. And for example, I lived in Mexico, and the arcade scene back then, it was fucking awesome. And Neo Geo was a big influence as well. For example, I've seen it now, and it's really unfortunate. The arcade scene in Mexico is dead. The arcade scene in the US, is pretty much dead as well. But for example, back in the day, I had a group of friends, and we would all get together and say, hey, let's go visit, Dude A, and go to the arcade by his house, and there was a specific selection of arcade titles there. And then, oh, hey, let's go visit Dude B, and there were different titles at his local arcade. But for example, you either had a Marvel Versus, any type of Street Fighter Alpha. Actually, when Street Fighter Alpha hit Mexico, it blew Street Fighter 2 out of the water. You had Darkstalkers as well, and any Metal Slug, preferably Metal Slug X, which is my personal favorite. Any soccer, Neo Geo arcade cab as well. So Neo Geo Cup was probably the best one. Then a close second was Super Sidekicks 2. And damn, it was just amazing seeing so many games. And yes, today you could emulate stuff and whatever, but back then it was an experience going to the arcade, dropping in your coin or token, whatever they offered, and trying to beat Metal Slug with your buddies, or seeing who could who actually knew the code, the character selection combo to actually select a White Venom in Marvel vs. Capcom, etc. So Mexico is very important to me. Besides of my heritage, is that was where I first discovered Resident Evil, and what led to this entire mess and to where we are now: website, podcast, streaming, all that, etc. So again, I was living in Mexico in my early teens. I was in high school, and I was visiting we were visiting a store. For example, for anybody in the US, this was like the Mexican Target, and it was actually called Gigante. And the chain is dead and gone, long forgotten. It's actually kind of funny now that I think about it, how Resident Evil 2 and 4 are like my favorite entries within the series. So the first time I saw any mention of Resident Evil was at the store named Gigante, and Resident Evil 4 has an enemy called El Gigante, the giant. So that's pretty funny. So I was at the store Gigante, and my parents were off shopping, and I like to read. My wife actually makes fun of me because she says I'm a nerd because I like to read and I listen to podcasts and I like to look stuff up. So it was a Resident Evil 2 walkthrough in Spanish, of course, and on the front it had a render of Leon in his RPD getup. And for anybody who has seen the Japanese label for the Nintendo 64 version of Resident Evil 2, where it has Leon and Claire just standing there looking awesome with Raccoon City in the background, it was that render, but of Leon solo. And it said in Spanish, it said, can you survive the terror of Raccoon City, or something like that. And then it said the complete walkthrough of Leon. So the render by itself, like, wow. And then can you survive the terror, zombie infested streets? Oh shit. So I opened it up, and of course it had no fucking screenshots whatsoever. I'm not sure if they couldn't get them, if they were too cheap, or or whatever. And so I started reading this thing, and it said it was written very well. So for example, it said something like opening scene, you walk away from the fire, the streets are infested with zombies, you run through the street, then you turn into the alley and head into Kendo's gun shop. So like just that alone, like fuck man, my imagination just started going off, just going off the rails. Like, oh man, what does this look like? Raccoon City, oh my god, it's infested with zombies. Oh shit, there's fire on the streets, everybody's dead. Oh my god, Kendo's gun shop, holy shit. Oh sorry, my cell phone just went off, I forgot to mute it. So yeah, that was fuck, hold on. Fuck man, let me mute this. It's funny, you have your phone on you all day, and the second the camera's rolling, it doesn't fail, and it's not stopping. All right, let me mute that. All right, so yeah, I started reading this thing, and I read so fast, and I was so into it that time just flew by, and my parents took so long at the store that I actually sat down in front of the book section and read this whole thing from front to back. So that always stuck in my mind. And it's funny, another thing why Mexico is so special to me is that's where I met my wife. So she's a gamer as well, and we started talking one day, and I told her, hey, she had mentioned the PlayStation 1, which was the console back then, and of course I didn't have one. So we were chatting it up one day at recess, and talking about PS1. And I told her, hey, I saw this game, at Gigante. I'm not sure what it's called. It has zombies and there's a cop. I think it's called, Resident something. And she said, oh yeah, Resident Evil. I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, that's the game. I think it's, Leon, a cop. Is it Resident Evil? She said, oh yeah, Resident Evil 2, I have it. Like, you do, really? And she said, yeah, do you want to borrow it? I'm like, okay, cool. So I borrowed it, and of course, this is extremely frowned upon, but there were a lot of shops that were pay to play. So you would pay, like, back then it was like 5 pesos, which let's say was like $1 US, right? Just a rough estimate. And you could pick a game, pick a console, and they sold chips, they sold Cheetos, they sold soda, whatever you wanted to drink, and you could play. And I knew the guy at the shop, and I said, oh hey, I got this game, can I try it out? Oh yeah, man, sure, go ahead. And of course, I booted up. I saw the amazing Resident Evil 2 intro, which, gave you a brief backstory of Resident Evil 1. So until then, I was caught up, right? And of course, the game starts, and I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. I died like 4 times in a row. And I asked my buddy, I'm like, hey dude, have you played this? Like, I have no idea how to work it. He's like, oh yeah, man, the controls are kind of weird, but up is down, down is up. It's just basically, you feel like a tank. So, okay, cool, a tank, all right, I'll try it. And, I finally got it. And, I played like, damn, man, time flew that day. It was like an hour and a half, maybe, in a heartbeat. And of course, I got nowhere. I don't think I even solved the red gem puzzle in the RPD. So, that was my first taste of Resident Evil. So, I had carried my my gaming love, damn, I've been playing 20 plus years. I'm 30-ish. So, been playing since I was like 7 or 8. But, the 2 main loves in my gaming life are, Sega, Sonic, the Genesis, Sega CD, all that, and Resident Evil. But once, I came back, I moved back to the States and started, college and all that, I sort of fell out of love with video games. And the reason because of that was because I was working at GameStop at the time. For anybody outside the US, GameStop is a major gaming chain. And yeah, it was awesome. Like, oh man, I get to work around games, and like, people think you play video games all day, but you don't. It's retail, right? But instead of, trying to sell someone crap that they're really not going to buy and something you really don't know shit about, you're just talking games. And for example, we had the shooter guy who was all into Halo. I was the quote horror guy, Resident Evil. You had, 2 of the ladies that worked there were like obsessed with Final Fantasy, especially Final Fantasy 11. playing online and all that. But I don't know, I just like had such a saturation of shit games that the second Resident Evil 4 came out, bought it day one. I didn't even have a GameCube. I specifically held out because honestly there was nothing I wanted to play but Resident Evil 4 because back then it was exclusive, right? Sorry, I needed a drink of water. So I kept playing the Resident Evils as they came out, but one thing I did neglect were the non-numbered titles, except for Code Veronica because it had Claire in it, and obviously a continuation of the Chris Claire storyline. But for example, I didn't play Dead Aim, I didn't play Survivor 1 or 2. I didn't play I had brain fart. So I didn't play those games, but I did play Outbreak because it was online and it was awesome and you could play with people. But that in itself, that will be its own episode because damn, so many good memories with Outbreak. So yeah, I picked up 4, played the shit out of it, and that's what got me back into Resident Evil, and I actually got my buddies onto Resident Evil. And they're casual fans, but they have played them, they do enjoy them. And I actually had people calling me up when they were playing RE4 like, hey dude, I can't be Krauser on the tower. What the fuck do I do? Do you just have to shoot him in the feet? What? Alright man, hold on. They would put the phone down, do it, and then they would be like, dude, what the fuck? Alright man, I'll call you later. I'm gonna keep playing. Alright, cool. So part of me, falling back in love with games and with Resident Evil is playing. I want to play good shit. I'm tired of, I'll just be honest, I'm tired of the Halos, I'm tired of the Call of Duties. And yes, they do have a place, but for example, and that's part of why I created the site to, fully immerse myself back in Resident Evil lore and all that good stuff, and play titles that I neglected, which I shamefully neglected. And the same deal with games, like for example on the streams, whenever I bring people on, it'll be good retro stuff, and it will be good hard or good easy, but it will be awesome. That's the point of it, right? To have an awesome experience. So yes, it's funny, I actually thought this episode was going to be a bit longer, but damn, I'm almost done. That's pretty cool. So yeah, come to the site, goblin6.com, so goblin6.com. There will be news posted there. Again, it won't be a scoop site like we were the first one to report it. No, it's stuff that I discover on my own and share it. Of course, another site could beat me to it, and that's fine. Again, it's not a scoop. And we are working on our own section, which right now is called the Goblin 6 Files. So some info on tech and the people behind the games, and the development of a game. For example, our focus will be really nerdy, so a quick nugget of information. So for example, today there exists a lot of task management software, right? Hell, I'm staring at one right now. I have 2 screens and I have the outline of this fucking episode on there. Asana, and there's Trello, and boards and pins and all this shit. But back in 2003, when they were working on the final version of Resident Evil 4, what was released to us, Capcom basically set up their own Trello board, right? And stuff like that. That's pretty cool, but maybe people don't know about it. And yes, of course, Trello exists now, and it's all good, and it's in your browser. But these guys build it from the ground up just for them. So we will be researching stuff like that, and bringing it to the people. And the website itself, it does have descriptions of games, but there's no full plot analysis. This is hopefully, for example, for people that have played the series, it's like a slight refresher. Or, for anybody hopefully discovering the series for the first time, it won't ruin anything, and hopefully it'll make them want to play the game. And on the website, games are referred to by their Japanese name and a combination of the North American name. So for example, yes, in the West, Resident Evil is called Resident Evil, but in Japan, where the series comes from, it's called Biohazard. So quick example. So Resident Evil Dead Aim in Japan is called what's it called? It's a really long name. Biohazard Gun Survivor 4 Heroes Never Die. It has a weird fucking name like that. So for example, on Goblin 6, we refer to it as Biohazard Dead Aim. And so that would be Resident Evil Dead Aim, right? And Resident Evil 5, it's Biohazard 5, etc. So another reason for that is because on the side panel on the site, actually typing in Resident Evil Dead Aim, for example, did not fit, and it would get cropped out. So fuck it. What was I gonna do? Oh shit, Biohazard. All right, cool. Biohazard Dead Aim, that fits, and people can get it that, hey, it's Resident Evil Dead Aim. Okay, cool. So that's reasoning for the naming there. And there is a brief description of who directed it, which game engine was used if available, what was the original target platform. So for example, like the Resident Evil remake, right? Yeah, it's in HD on Steam, on Xbox One, on PS4, on Xbox 360, on PS3, on the Vita, on the Switch. No, it's not on the Switch yet. No, it's not. Sorry, I'm retarded. But for example, it was originally the original target platform was a Nintendo GameCube. So things like that. And there are images. There will be images on the site of stuff that we have gathered that is out there. Like for example, screenshots of Resident Evil 2, 3, 4. And there are things that we have discovered. Like for example, like game engine tech, right? Like MT Framework. So those will be on there with the nice little light box and all that, pop up. But we will not ever watermark anything. So even if Shinji Mikami himself emailed me, hey Hobbs, here's some concept art that's never been released, put on your site. If that were ever to happen, it will go on the site, but no bookmarks. Pendejo, sorry. No watermarks. Why? Because, that's Capcom property. We do not own it. We did not create it. We're just sharing it. So, again, even if we're the first ones to post it online, who cares, right? There will be no watermarks. Why? Because, in the early 2000s, a lot of sites, like especially Silent Hill sites, people did not want to share with each other. And yeah, you see like a cool image, but boom, it has a big ass watermark on it. So that in itself reduces the quality of the experience. And again, for example, like, other shit is owned by Capcom. If Capcom, woke up one day and, put the banhammer on all the Resident Evil fan sites, they could take all that shit down because that's their property. And, that's, hopefully they never do that. But, people don't realize that one day Capcom could do that, right? Even this podcast, like, it will have Resident Evil theme music in the background. Again, they could just take that shit down. It'll suck, but again, it's their child, right? It's their baby. So yes, we won't be watermarking anything. And I know a lot of sites, they are a little bit, exclusive in a way with who they talk to and who they don't talk to. We're not going to do that. We have reached out to sites to affiliate, and that would be cool. It's for anybody who's a soccer fan, it's like me here being in the States, playing in MLS, and if I'm able to affiliate with these guys, it's like, oh shit, I was just bought by a European team, and I'm playing in Europe now. That would be cool. But yeah, I mean, anybody, if you're from another website and want to affiliate, hit us up. The email is goblin@goblin6.com. And yeah, that's what we want to focus on here at the site. We want to speak to the people behind the fan sites. We want to speak to the people behind the mods. Yeah, it would be cool to interview DC Douglas, but it has been done already, and that's great. That's awesome. But that will be our focus, talking to the community and hearing their stories, what got them into Resident Evil, what was their journey here, did they get into horror first or video games, or was it a mix of both? That's what we're interested in, hearing, other people's stories. So that's pretty much it for this episode. 35 minutes is pretty good. So yeah, guys, again, check out the site, Goblin 6. There will be links to the forum, to Twitter. We won't be doing Facebook. I know some people do Facebook, that's great. But for example, I want people to come to the site and experience Resident Evil, right? Because if we were to be in a group on Facebook, you just get lost in the Facebook junk. There's ads everywhere, and that's how they make their money. That's cool. But for example, I want people to come to the site to have this experience, and that's another mission statement as well. There will be no ads on the site. No ads ever. There are, for example, again, it's a one-man operation, so I'm fronting this out of my pocket, and that's fine. Why? Because I love Resident Evil. I want to share the love. I want to create a space where other Resident Evil fans could gather and have a good experience. So so no Facebook there. Twitter, yes, for sure. Hell yeah, Twitter is awesome. And the forum, again, there is a security question to stop those that porn being plastered all over the site. So there's a security question. It's on the top banner. It's Chris on the left side and Leon on the right side. It's that awesome scene in Resident Evil 6 where they're pointing their guns at each other. So the security question is, what is the first name of the character on the right? So the answer is Leon. You could type that in all caps. You could type that all in lowercase. It could be capital L, lowercase EON, whatever. But the answer is Leon. So again, that question is there for security purposes. But yeah, guys, so we'll be rolling forward, and there will be more episodes of Spectre. This will be episode 0. So remember, you can expect Resident Evil stuff, horror stuff, retro stuff, community stuff. So yeah, so that's it for episode 0. Again, call me Hobbs. And yes, I will see you guys on the next episode of Spectre, which will be officially episode 1. So alright guys, thanks a lot and have a good night. See you guys soon.